Hello, and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Martin O'Neill. The Food and Beverage Tax Advisory Board discussed monthly and annual reports in their February 10th meeting. Commissioner Cheryl Munson spoke of December's report.
Only thing that was missing at our January meeting was the December 2019 total. That is from 335 payers, an amount of $321,528.03. December 2019 compares well with December 2018 by an increase of $19,000.
Community Representative Susan Bright asked about projected revenues for 2020. Mayor John Hamilton said revenue projections for each year is about $3 million. Munson said 2018 to 2019 comparisons were unhelpful.
Well, 2019 in 1 month might be a bit lower than 2018. That happened in only, I believe, 2 cases. And it seems to be been made up the next month by a higher amount. And so these monthly revenue reports are not very informative to us because it could be just one of the blips in collections.
In their February 10th meeting, the Ellettsville Town Council discussed hiring a full-time employee for their Department of Public Works. Interim Town Manager Mike Farmer explained the new hire to the council.
A month and a half, 2 months ago, we came to you and asked if we could bring back an employee, Greg Vegatis, that we had working for us temporary full-time. He went on to get a full-time job somewhere else and was laid off for the winter. We had a couple openings and some vacations, so we asked to hire him temporarily as a TFT again. And so he's still with us and about to leave to go back to his regular job.
Farmer said this hire would replace 2 temporary full-time employees. He said payroll will not be affected and that budget would allow for 2 additional seasonal hires.
It also leaves room to hire 2 seasonal part-time employees to mow grass in the heart of the summer. And we usually hire some young people that are getting ready to go to college, just out of high school. We hire them for about 2.5, 3 months, and they actually help us with our mowing.
The council approved the hire with further discussion on the topic to be had in their next work session. Also on February 10th, City of Bloomington Senior Zoning Planner Eric Grulich presented a proposal for a Walnut Street planned unit development to the Bloomington Plan Commission.
The petitioners received approval to rezone the property in order to allow for it to be redeveloped with a 242-unit mixed-use development. So this would involve removing all of the buildings from the property in order to construct 2 new buildings on the site. Overall, the petition was approved to allow for a building that would be between 5 and 6 stories in height. It would have 2 separate buildings, one main large building on the west side of the site that would have a parking garage incorporated into it, and then another building on the east side of the site that would be kind of a smaller building that would also be for residential uses.
Grulich said the 5 to 6 story building will include an outdoor seating area and plaza, and that amendments from the City Council added solar panels and a green roof to the project. He said further plans also include a private transit service.
So the petitioners have arranged for a contract with Bloomington Transit to provide an exclusive shuttle service. It would serve this development as well as other folks along the Bloomington Transit route. So that route is shown in red here on this map. That is a 3-year agreement that will be renegotiated, reanalyzed every 3 years.
Tom Beavis of Hampton's Townhomes said they had a shared easement on the south side of the project property that could cause some delays.
That easement is being requested to be moved to the north. We were opposed to that movement in previous hearings, and we continue to oppose that. My attorney sent a letter today to those people involved, and there is a Indiana State Supreme Court ruling as early as latest 2018 in Ellettsville, and we're requesting that this be resolved before approval is given to this project.
Grulich said the Plan Commission does not regulate private easements. Commissioner Tron Enright Randolph disagreed with Grulich about Plan Commission involvement.
For us to be making a decision which could impact an easement, I think is completely planning's responsibility, and I just don't think that was a fair answer there.
So I spoke to our legal department this afternoon, and they affirmed that this is not our place to get involved. This is not a public easement, so
Then
therefore it
should
is
they
not for
not be
us.
submitting this petition until it's resolved, is my question.
So that is a matter for them to work out. It is not a zoning issue.
The Plan Commission approved the PUD without an easement condition. The county and city discussed transferring property to a capital improvement board at a convention center joint session on February 10th. Commissioner Julie Thomas spoke about potential county and city land transfers differences.
We have two very, very different maps. I will just highlight the differences for the public who may be watching. The city's map would require the county to turn over, and I will just speak about these areas generally because we all have the maps in front of us. The North Walnut Visitor Center, the area the county owns west of the Beeline Trail, and the area east of the current convention center and the area south of the current convention center. The county's version...
Plus the convention center.
Well, plus the convention center, of course. The county's version, of course, has a convention center and the area east of the convention center marked, and that's it.
Thomas said southern expansion is not an option and that the county's map only included necessary expansion property. Mayor John Hamilton said the property to the south was purchased with revenues from the innkeeper's tax. He stated the CIB should obtain all property purchased by innkeeper's tax money. County Attorney Margie Rice said other projects can use innkeeper's tax funds.
It may very well be that that land could be repurposed or sold, and those proceeds go for some other project that the county anticipates having in the future. So, to be real honest, I think that nobody's got a crystal ball to know if you are going to go all the way down to 2nd Street. And the idea being that, this convention center was going to go south and now it's headed north and it might head west. So we did not want to put in anything that is not necessary. And again, the county's not holding anything back that's not needed for the project. We're giving what's needed for the project.
County Commissioner Penny Githens expressed concern of the southern property sitting undeveloped if the CIB does not utilize it. Mayor Hamilton said additional CIB expansion funds could be obtained by selling Visit Bloomington property. County Councillor Eric Spoonmore said current dedicated CIB funds are sufficient, and Thomas expressed concerns about selling the property.
I have a concern about the CIB selling land because they would fold that money into they'd have to fold that money into the convention center, but we have a set cost for that convention center, and anything that land is used for needs to be, because of how it was purchased, needs to be, that asset needs to be utilized for economic development and tourism. I mean, that's our guideline.
Rice emphasized the importance of focusing on property that has previously been agreed upon. She said time spent disagreeing could impair previously made agreements. At the February 11th meeting of the Monroe County Council, County Health Administrator Penny Cottle requested approval of an additional appropriation to the county's syringe service program. Council member Marty Hawk said she is disappointed in the program's cleanup efforts so far.
We felt more like it was going to be a syringe exchange, and I really regret to say we're not seeing an exchange. The only way it gets exchanged is if citizens are out there picking up or somebody volunteering picking up these needles that are everywhere. And so it's hard for me to support this. On the other hand, I know that it does assist in what we'd hoped to do, which was try to keep down any kind of spread of disease through spreading with needles. But I just think it's so regrettable that that they're just throwing around everywhere for our children to be able to, they can't walk to school, or they can't go to the parks, they can't walk out near the lake.
Cottle said the program focuses on syringe services and that one-to-one exchange rates are a misconception. She also offered further explanation for issues with improper disposal.
The biggest reason we have improperly disposed of needles is because we have a state that makes it a federal offense, that it is a felony to hang on to that. And so people will discard them if they are fearful that they're going to be arrested. And when you look at other communities that have syringe programs and do not have that felony, they don't have the issue.
Cottle said safe disposal rates will increase with the installation of proper disposal units. The Council unanimously approved the request. And we'll have more from CATSweek right after this.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying. I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me. But with Girls Inc. in my corner, there for me every day, believing in me,
Showing me what's possible.
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body, to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
to be a leader, to finish school,
To own my future.
to break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner. With you in my corner, I will not be another statistic. I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Welcome back to CATSweek. Planner Drew Myers introduced a low residency residential rezone request at the February 12th Monroe County Commissioners' work session. He said the rezone is to permit use of an existing guest house.
Planning staff had initially believed that the petitioner was operating a home-based business out of this addition, but with some conversations with the petitioner, he acknowledged that work vehicles park on site. He owns a carpet cleaning business, but no other business activities take place on the property. And then he also informed us that the addition on that detached garage is actually, it serves as a spare living space for when the petitioner hosts a traveling missionary out of a few months out of the year.
Myers said current single-dwelling residential zoning is very similar to LR zoning. Commissioner Penny Giffens asked Myers about guest house usage.
Can you then earn money through Airbnb, or what all does that allow this person to do?
An Airbnb would be classified as a tourist home or cabin or a bed and breakfast. The main difference between those two is if it's a bed and breakfast, it has to be one room of the bed and breakfast use has to be rented out from the primary structure. And the tourist home and cabin is a very specific use itself. It's almost, you have to convert from a residential use on a property to a commercial use.
Meyer said the property owner is required to apply for after-the-fact building permits regarding other unpermitted structures on the property. Those requests will be heard at the February 19th Commissioners' meeting. Also on February 12th, County Attorney Jeff Cockrell presented a Monroe Fire Protection District expansion plan to the Monroe County Commissioners. The new expansion would include areas in Benton Township. Township trustee Michelle Bright spoke about current Benton Township fire volunteers.
By nature of being a volunteer organization, our firefighters are not able to guarantee a response for fire and emergency calls due to other work and family commitments. In addition, our roster, like many others across the state, has shrunk over the last several years, and recruiting new volunteers has been a challenge. To supplement our volunteer response, Benton Township has contracted with neighboring career fire department, Bloomington Township, for the last 40 years. Our current contract ensures full-time personnel will respond to all emergency calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to our township. However, starting next year, contracting with Bloomington Township is no longer an option, since last fall they were approved to merge with the fire district.
Bright said evidence supported joining the Monroe Fire Protection District and that annexation will create beneficial opportunities.
Our high assessed valuation allows us to generate a significant revenue stream, and with the district's proposed tax rate, we anticipate that we would be able to generate enough funding to support the hiring of Benton Township's first full-time personnel who will be at our station ready to respond 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Bright said the expansion would improve response times in the township. The commissioners unanimously approved the plan. Bloomington City Council discussed a non-consensual towing addition to the Bloomington Municipal Code during their February 12th meeting. Deputy Attorney Stephen Lucas spoke about the purpose of the amendment.
The purpose of this ordinance, as stated in the whereas clauses, would be to primarily prevent predatory practices. And these predatory practices certainly aren't something that all tow companies engage in. We're not saying that at all, but these are the practices that we're trying to discourage. And those practices would be to refusing to release a vehicle before it's been removed from private property, towing vehicles a great distance, engaging in kickback arrangements, or charging exorbitant storage or towing fees.
Lucas said conflict reduction and consumer protection benefit from the amendment. He said towing inflicted damage would be the business owner's responsibility. Lucas said 24-hour notice is not required for emergency towing of abandoned vehicles.
An emergency situation is defined as a vehicle that interferes with a property owner's business operations or presents a hazard to health or safety.
The council voted to raise base towing fees to $135. Councilmember Jim Sims said the base fee is consistent with fees at Indiana University and in Monroe County. Sims introduced a non-consensual towing business licensing amendment.
Denial or renewal of license. The license administrator may decline to issue or renew a license issued under this chapter if the license administrator finds: 1, the applicant has previously violated any provision of this chapter and has issued either an official warning or has been subject to any of the penalties listed under Bloomington Municipal Code 4.32.160A, or number 2, the applicant has been previously found to be in violation of any other similar law promulgated by a different governmental entity, or number 3, the applicant has previously had a license issued under this chapter suspended or revoked.
Stryker Towing owner Max Stryker asked who would monitor and enforce tow warnings which result in a suspended license. City Attorney Mike Roker said the process is complaint and investigation driven. Lucas said only non-consensual tows apply to this licensing scheme. Roker said other licensing guidelines do not deviate from the presented amendment.
These provisions don't deviate from the other licensing regimes in the code in any significant way, particularly if we're going to talk about Amendment 2, when we're talking about a non-renewal or a revocation of a food truck license or a scooter license or a taxi cab license or a solicitor license or a pawnbroker license. And if you were to go to Terre Haute or Columbus or South Bend or Indianapolis, you'd find that their license provisions look the same way as well.
Council members approved the licensing amendment. Also on February 12th, senior zoning planner Eric Grulich presented an Arlington Drive zoning ordinance and preliminary plat to the Bloomington City Council Land Use Committee. He said development was separated into 4 areas and that one area will be given to the city.
Area A on the north side of the site are single-family lots. These are 45 single-family lots. These have been designed to have alley access along the majority of the lots, with all of them fronting on a public street. These lots would be given to the city to be used to meet some of the diverse housing needs of our community. And with the approval for this, the Planning Commission required that all of the infrastructure for these lots, all of the roads, the sidewalk, the utilities, all of the grading must be implemented prior to donation to the city.
Grulich said other areas would be used to develop townhomes, duplexes, and density student units, and that about 13 acres were saved for tree conservation. Trinitas developer Kimberly Hansen discussed development sustainability.
The most sustainable feature of our site is that we are not developing 35% of it. We also have a number of initiatives that we've included in our development plan. I'm personally very excited about 12 electric vehicle charging stations that will be powered by solar arrays on their carport roofs, as well as the fact that we have committed to 10% regional building materials.
Councilmember Isabel Piedmont Smith clarified that low-flow plumbing would only be utilized in the clubhouse. Councilmember Steve Volan questioned Trinitas's development reliability. Grulich said City Council cannot force developers to build all plans.
It's impossible to regulate to some degree. You can't say you have to build every single building. What are the things that we're concerned about? Public improvements, so those get bonded for. So we know that, you have to have public streets in here, you have to bond for them so that if something happens, we know we can go in and put them in. There are phasing requirements that oftentimes developments might have on them that, you can't do this phase until you get this phase done. I understand the concern about the townhomes, but we can't make somebody develop land. If they run out of money and they just can't afford it, they just can't afford it.
Grulich said a fine would result from any plan violations. He said a court order would occur if fines were not paid. A second hearing will be held on February 26th. At the February 13th meeting of the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District, Executive Director Tom McGlasson said Republic Services will no longer accept styrofoam for recycling. He said many recycling firms have discontinued styrofoam acceptance. Board member Isabel Piedmont Smith asked McGlasson about repercussions.
We don't want our whole bin of plastics to go into the landfill. So do we risk having that happen if we keep accepting styrofoam?
Yeah, and Mr. Carmen indicated, I think that's a risk regardless of what vendors are available to us in this area, we would use if this became, something that, made us move away from Republic. Like I said before, I don't think on the back end of something like that, with regard to styrofoam, we're going to wind up in any better scenario than we currently are right now.
Board member Penny Giffens said the signed contract was intended to go through April. Attorney Michael Carmen said a clarifying contract amendment would be needed. McGlasson said no large cost difference would result from a contract amendment. And that's all from CATSweek. Thanks for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Martin O'Neill.